Welcome to Share and Turning Time. We're up to Perek Chav Beis, and this begins Masa Gei Chizoyon, which is another one of the Masos, another one of the prophecies. Gei Chizoyon is Yerushalayim, which is like a height of Chizoyon is Chizoyon means to see. Chizoyon Yeshayahu. Gei Chizoyon. So either it means from a place of many revelations, or a place from seeing from on high, like somebody has a view from the top of the mountain. Maloch eifoi kiolis kuloch legagois. The people of Yerushalayim went up on top of the mountains, and the way Rashi and the Radak say, it's like by the time when the Churban was happening, but the Churban by Rishon, the people of Yerushalayim went up to the top of the rooftops instead of to go out and battle and fight for their thing. But I'm going to try to go on like more of a metaphorical track. That the Navi is saying, whenever you get stuck, why is everybody running up on their rooftops? This entire city that was full of sounds of people. It was a bustling city, a city that was full of joy. The dead are not going to be dying from the sword, and they're not going to be dying from war. You know what people die from? People die from from the city, from the storm within their minds. All of the heads of the city are going to run away together. Mikeshes Usaru. Those who run away, running away from the arrows, and who lock themselves up. Mikeshes Usaru Kolnim Tza'ayich Usru Yachda Ve'rochak Berochu. They all got chained together, but most of them ran away. He's describing over here how when people get stuck in situations, how they react. And he's telling you what's causing people to get entrapped. It's not the swords and it's not the wars, it's the inner commotion within them. Alkein Amarti Shu'u Mini. I tell those that are coming to be menachem me, to console me, Shu'u Mini. Lamachop, leave me alone. Amorei Babechi. I'm going to cry bitterly. Al Ta'itzu Lenachameni. Don't push yourselves to Menachemi al shoyd basami, on the plunder of my nation. Because it's a day of plunder, a day of commotion, a day of trampling. The enemy is coming in and they're destroying the city. Yeshayahu elahod, and their cries is coming up from the top of the mountains. Ve'elam noso ashpa. And all of the people who came to help Nebuchadnezzar and the battle of Yerushalayim, and they brought their bows and arrows, v'rechev odom paroshem v'kir eira mogen, and they came to break down the city walls, and they came to dig tunnels beneath it. V'himifchar amokayim molu rechev. All of the plains were full of riders, full of horse riders, full of the enemies. And they made the siege around the city. And they removed Masach Yehuda, the Beis Hamikdash, which is the Mogen, which is like the barrier or the protector. And on that day they looked on the artillery, on the ammunition, which was, if you remember back by Shlomo HaMelech, later on they took away all of the shields and they changed them for copper shields. So they were looking for the last ammunition they were able to get their hands on. And the splits in Ir David, in the city of David, which is all the pirtzes, the Isam Kirabu, and they saw all the pirtzes that were made. What kaptu as mea brecha tachtoino, and they gathered by the pools, the lower waters, which we spoke about it, that in Yerushalayim there was this pool with there was the higher waters, the lower waters. There's bought Yerushalayim Sefartem, and they counted how many houses there were to everybody. That was Vatitzu Abotim Levatze Rachoimo. They broke down the houses in order to use the stone. So what's going on over here is describing how the end of Yerushalayim came to be, and how at the end of the game, people were breaking down their homes in order to use the bricks to stuff up the cracks in the walls. Describing in a metaphorical terms the turmoil that goes on to a city that's not here, that's not living for a higher purpose. So what ends up happening is that within this turmoil, then you break down all the barriers, you break down your choimus, and you end up taking the stones of your home in order to stuff up those cracks, in order to give you security. Usually a home is a place where you're supposed to thrive. But if you don't end up living, in the correct balance for the right purpose, you end up taking the stones that should have been housing your home and using it to stuff up the cracks in your wall to stop enemies from coming in. And mikvah sisam ben hachamasayim, and you made a mikvah means a pool of water ben hachamasayim between your boundaries. The mea brecha yeshana for the old water source, but you didn't look up to the one that made it, this is really the problem here. You didn't look far to see what's causing this ganze geschäft over here. Ultimately, the reason why this problem is happening is for people to look up and say, Hashem, why is this all going on? Many times we find ourselves in situations, the purpose of the situation is in order for you to look up and say, why is this happening? But when you don't meditate on what's happening, Vayikra Hashem alikim tzivokos b'yemu levchi v'lemispev v'lekarcha v'lechagorisok. Hashem, he's looking down at the situation. He's saying, wow, there's a doomsday coming over here. It's time for people to wake up when you see the trajectory of where things are going. But you know what happened instead? This is a very famous pasuk. You know what the people say? It's like the Titanic going down, where you had people playing music. The people say, hey, we're anyway going to die. We might as well kill cattle. Let's eat meat, let's eat steak, let's drink wine. Let's drink and be merry, for tomorrow we shall die. And that's the mindset of destruction. The mindset of destruction is when you stop making a cheshbon of why is this happening, what's the purpose of my life, and you say, let me just party till it's over. But what they're thinking, what they're saying is revealed before God. I swear to you that it's not going to, that if the sin is going to get forgiven. This is the sin that's going to cause you to die. It's not the sin that's going to cause you to die. You know what's going to cause you to die? It's not looking upwards to figure out what's causing it, and not doing the basic contemplation of going inward. That's what's going to cause you to fall. It's the sin of running away from the real issue. Koi Omar Hashem Elikim Tzivokos Lech Boyal Asoichen Hazeh Al Shevna Shal Abois. Now Shevna was a treasurer. I'm going to talk about the Shevna. Archaeologically, they found a tzia in a cave that this psukim are referring to Shevna, that Yeshayahu held him, confronted him why he was building himself this fancy monument to act as a tomb. Anyway, Shevna went and he wanted to surrender to the Syrian army. He wanted to give himself over. He actually did. He got killed in the end. See what the pasuk says? Who are you? What are you that you made yourself this beautiful monument, this kever? Who are you that you made yourself this beautiful monument? You know, this is also part of this destructive mindset where a person is like, okay, let's drink, let's party. So it starts like this. In your mind, there's a huge commotion going on. There's a muhuma. you end up using the stones that should have been creating for you good life to block up all of the pertzes, all of the breaches in your wall. Instead of looking up to heaven and making a cheshbon, you say, let's go on and let's party. And you say, oh, we're going to die. Okay, let's make a monument for my death. Let's memorialize our death. Hine Hashem taltelcho taltelo gover. It's not going to be like you think, he says. You're going to be dragged all over the place. The taltelcho taltelo gover. Ve'oidcha otol. And you're going to fly away. The exile tzonoif yitz nofcho tzenefo. You're going to be surrounded, just like a hat or a turban that surrounds your head. That's how you're going to be surrounded by enemies. Like a ball rolling around in a broad land. That means you're not going to have any place to be settled. You thought that you're going to end up establishing yourself, memorializing yourself. In the end, you're going to end up going into the bottom. You're going to get thrown down from your high standing. And on that day, you know what's going to happen. A new birth is going to happen. He's the one who took over. All of your positions or power are going to be taken over by El Yokim. He's going to be here for the Zach. He's going to be here for the real purpose. And your power is going to be given over to him. He's going to be like a father to those of Jerusalem. He's going to take control. He's going to I'm going to put the key on the shoulder, which means, first of all, literally the keys were once huge, but it also means that the responsibility of holding the key is going to be given over to him. He's going to be one that opens and closes. He's going to take control and he's going to make seder. Here's where this lashon yosed, yated ne'eman, it comes from this passage. He's going to put in a yosed is like a nail, an anchor, a faithful anchor. And his family is going to be a kisei kavod. He's going to be a kisei kavod. Everyone is going to honor him. And everyone is going to put all the kavod of it. That means the one who keeps a faithful anchor, he's the one who ends up holding at the toim vatzepios. Kol kalei akoton mechlei argonos va'ad kol kli anevolim. That means all of the house, all of the children, everybody is going to follow in his path. All of the vessels, all of the musical instruments, everything is going to be under his watch. That anchor is going to fall down. And the load is going to fall. Which means, what he's really saying here is that this Al Yakim, even though he's amazing and he's able to hold it up, but it's not because you actually changed. Sometimes you have Oilmus Hefkid, then a good leader comes and he holds control, and everything becomes organized, but you still didn't change. So the second he falls away, everything collapses again. So ultimately what the Navi Yeshayahu is saying, that until you're not going to look upwards and you're not going to communicate with God and find the purpose and create a system of Oides B'Kelim where you have boundaries and you have light, even if you're going to get leaders who are going to be able to hold you by control, the second they leave, you're going to fall back to the way you were.